Ask anyone how early humans kept predators away at night, and you'll get the same answer instantly. Fire. Fire scared off the lions. Fire scared off the wolves. Fire is the reason we're here. Except, it isn't. Not by itself. Modern field researchers have watched lions walk past lit torches, watched bears wander straight into active campfires, watched hyenas raid herds guarded by lights far brighter than anything a hominid ever carried. Fire wasn't the shield we think it was, and figuring out what actually worked tells us a lot more about how our ancestors survived than the campfire myth ever did. Here's the version everyone already knows. Around 1 to 2 million years ago, hominids got control of fire. It let them cook food, extend the usable day past sunset, gather socially, and, according to the popular telling, it kept predators at bay while everyone slept. It's a clean story. Flame equals safety. But clean story should always be your first clue to dig further, because real survival is almost never that simple. The problem with fire scares predators is that it treats fear like a fixed trait. It isn't. Animals adapt to stimuli that stop predicting real danger, a process researchers call habituation. A flashing light or a loud noise might startle an animal the first time, but if nothing bad actually happens to them, that fear fades fast. This isn't theory, it's directly observed in modern human-wildlife conflict research. Deterrence, like flashing lights, can absolutely trigger a startle response, mimicking the eyeshine of a predator or the presence of a human, but their real-world effectiveness keeps getting undermined by exactly this: animals learning the light means nothing. Bears make the point even more clearly. Bears are driven overwhelmingly by food, and they habituate to human presence and campfires easily, sometimes even learning to associate a campfire with a food source, which is the opposite of deterrence. More broadly, any animal that encounters fire and humans often enough simply loses its wariness over time. If you want to see this play out in real time, look at a 2018 study from around Nairobi National Park in Kenya. Communities there started installing LED flashlights on livestock enclosures to scare off lions, essentially a modern, far more intense version of firelight. And it worked. Enclosures with flashlights saw significantly fewer attacks. But here's the twist: the lions didn't stop hunting, they rerouted. Attacks shifted toward enclosures further from the park that still didn't have lights installed. And as more and more bomas got flashlights, the lions didn't just move, they shifted their hunting from night to day when the lights were useless. That's not a predator that's afraid of light. That's a predator solving a puzzle. The same pattern shows up in totally different species and contexts. In cornfields in northeastern China, researchers tested deterrence against wild boar: solar blinkers, predator calls, electric fences. The blinkers worked at first, especially red ones, but effectiveness dropped fast as the boars habituated. Only the electric fence, an actual physical barrier, gave reliable long-term protection. Read across both studies and the conclusion is the same. Scare tactics buy you time, physical barriers buy you certainty. So if fire alone wasn't enough, what filled the gap? 3 things, and all 3 still show up in the archaeological and ethnographic record. First, physical barriers, not scare tactics. Modern boma fortification studies bear this out almost perfectly. Nearly 80% of all carnivore raids on livestock enclosures come from spotted hyenas, and fortified enclosures measurably reduce those raid attempts compared to unfortified ones. Thorn barricades, stone walls, brush fences — this is the same logic early humans almost certainly relied on. A wall doesn't need to be feared, it just needs to be climbed over or broken through, and most nights predators won't bother. Second, social positioning. Sleeping in a group wasn't just for warmth, it was a calculated risk distribution. Studies of wild baboon troops facing leopard, lion, and hyena predation found that adult males were consistently pushed to the isolated edges of the group across every single measure of predation risk researchers used. In other words, proximity to the center of a sleeping group is safety, and someone always ends up on the outside. It's not hard to imagine the same social calculus shaping where elders, children, and lower status group members slept around a fire. Third, darkness itself was the real enemy, fire or not. Modern accounts from unfenced African campsites describe exactly why. Predators like lions, leopards, and hyenas are opportunistic hunters, and humans are simply disadvantaged at night. Worse sight, worse hearing, worse smell, right when predators are their most capable. One ranger's line sums it up well: "The lion you meet in daylight is a different animal at night." Put together, this is the real picture. Fire was one layer in a stack, not a standalone solution. Barriers, group structure, and constant vigilance did the heavy lifting fire gets all the credit for. Here's the actual takeaway, and it's more interesting than the fire myth ever was. Predators are adaptive, not superstitious. Nothing that just glows or crackles keeps working forever against an animal capable of learning. The humans who survived weren't the ones who found a magic trick. They were the ones who kept stacking new layers of defense faster than predators could adapt to old ones. Fire mattered. It just wasn't the whole story. It was one tool in a toolkit that included walls, group structure, and relentless vigilance. And honestly, that's a much more human answer than "they lit a fire and slept soundly." So if fire wasn't the trick predators couldn't beat, what was? Turns out our ancestors may have had something louder than a lion's roar. That's next.